This is Sunset News. Stay with us for the next 30 minutes for news, community talk, economic indicators, weather, and sports. I am Aina Raiza Koyo. First up in the news tonight. The Namibia Energy Conference is in full swing with the blessing of the Ministry of Mines and Energy. The controversial Canadian gas and oil exploration company Reconnaissance Energy Africa, better known under the acronym Recon Africa, is using the platform to repeatedly assure Namibians that it is complying with the Namibian rules and regulations. What is apparently and conveniently forgotten by the company is the fact that it often only complied with the rules that persisted public pressure. A typical example was the fact that the Minister of Agriculture, Water and Land and Reform had tweeted earlier in 2021 that drilling operation had been started by Recon Africa at Kawe in the Okavango region, even though the required permission had not been applied for, never mind granted by his ministry at the time. In our next story, Minister Pwamba Shifeta stated in his budget speech that as part of the implementation of the decision of the Second National Land Conference in 2018, his ministry is preparing a strategy for wildlife corridors for the Zambezi region. This strategy includes key wildlife corridors, strategic interventions, and an action plan to identify ways in which the corridor can be established and maintained to manage human-wildlife conflicts. Moving on to our next story, the Namibian Agricultural Union participated today in the ongoing public hearings that the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Natural Resources is holding after the AR movement's petition and proposed bill calling for restriction on foreign and land ownership in Namibia came under the spotlight this week. NAU President Pete House presented the commercial farmers' view that such restriction will drive away foreign direct investment and hurt the Namibian economy. Their analysis of the bill found that it would prohibit land ownership through a company, demand nationalism of foreign-owned land within 3 days, and hamper development of massive existing and future agricultural developments. Earlier, the Namibian National Farmers Union, which is dominant among communal farmers, fully supported the AR call to further restrict foreign land ownership, which is already prohibited within communal areas. Chairperson of the committee, Chekero Tweya, told farmers' representatives that the committee will report to Parliament and make recommendations regarding the petition after extensive consultation. Scheduled hearing continue through next week, with many participating organizations to date asked to come back with more relevant information. Now we move over to our next story. Because the graveyard in Keetmanshoop is full, the municipality decided to grant a member of the community to dig 5 graves in the pathway. The contractor, however, threw all the sand onto the already existing graves, leading to a lot of complaints from people who went to visit family member graves over the Easter weekend. In our next story, independent lawyer Norman Chombe has described as a false statement by the Landless People's Movement leader Bernard Swartboy that only lawyers from law firms with a political connection to the ruling party SWAPO are appointed as acting judges to the courts. Speaking in Parliament this week, Swartboy observed that lawyers with ties to SWAPO, including those that preside over the ruling party's internal elective processes, often end up being appointed as acting judges or judges of appeal. Swartboy himself, a trained lawyer, said this practice compromises the independence of the judiciary. Moving over to our next story. The Namibian Medical Care Fund manager Beng Nandago once again reassured the medical aid scheme clients that there are no costs incurred by them for 713 Namibian dollars vaccination cost. This comes after Namibian Sun has received numerous complaints from some NMC clients that they are receiving claim messages which states that 713 Namibian dollars have been settled from their medical aid accounts. The clients are not only infuriated by the messages but also by the venues on the claims as well as the dates. This week, Namibian Sun reported that the local medical aid industry agreed to pay 713 Namibian dollars for each fully vaccinated member and pay this money towards government COVID-19 program. Now, in our community talk tonight, we talk about climate crisis ahead of the Earth Day. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
Choose your flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in one bundle. It's new, it's one bill, and you can stay connected in more than one location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
Thank you for watching Sunset News this evening. Jakapita Kandanga, a Namibian climate justice activist who joined Greenpeace at COP26 last year, talks about the climate crisis ahead of Earth Day. This clip was compiled by Yana Marie Smith.
Friday is Earth Day. Can you talk a bit about what you think are the biggest challenges we face?
The mitigation process is no longer enough to stop the climate crisis, which means mitigation is basically like fixing the underlying issues. You can either fix that by, a country going fully solar or using going fully sustainable. Since mitigation is no longer accessible to everybody, or it's no longer enough to fight the climate crisis, adaptation, which is our other choice as well, is difficult because of certain limitations, being it finance or being it people have to lose their homes because the place is no longer inhabitable. The only options that we have, there are no longer enough options, and we are running out of space in our own planet, and we are running out of options.
Are we also running out of time?
I feel like we are running out of time. We really do not have enough time. We actually do not have time at all, because there are people that are currently living the worst of the climate crisis right now. We saw what happened in South Africa, the mudslides and that whole thing that happened. A lot of people died there. And that is something that is not far from Namibia. And a lot of people not realize that that is the impacts of the climate crisis.
In Namibia, what are some of the biggest issues that you are seeing?
Drought and water scarcity. And that also comes down to oil companies coming into like the country and promising, citizens all these jobs. People think that every opportunity that comes or everything that comes is an opportunity, which is not. Some people are just here to benefit from it, because countries like bigger companies that come into smaller countries to come drill for oil, they usually drill for oil, and the country only gets a certain percentage, which is not even enough for development in Namibia. So I feel like one of the issues that we have to acknowledge in Namibia is that even though we are a small country that is struggling, we should be able to struggle sustainably and not allow people to come take advantage of the smaller resources that we have.
What can I do to help, if anything?
talking openly about climate change, make it an open thing, make it a known thing that climate change is happening. People are going through impacts of climate change. You are losing cattle, you are losing this, but people do not understand what is causing it. So the more openly you talk about, the more people understand, and the better people are able to adapt. Because when you know the problem, you are better able to adapt to the problem.
In our story of the day, we look at the power outages in the north. We'll be right back. Happy Thursday and thank you very much for watching. The Central Northern Electricity Supplier Sinored has distanced itself from the power outage caused by the interruption of a 22 kV Nampower line. The affected areas are Combat, Otavi 4-way service station, Otavi Army Base, NBC Tower, Namwater water pump, all Otavi plots and farms around the town. Now, according to Sinored spokesperson Shali Matengu, all affected areas may be without power until Friday. Senzo Amwele reports.
We have customers that are affected. Customers ranging from Korab. Those customers are affected right now. Why? Because of a Nampower transformer that is, which is faulty. It's a 22 kV transformer which is faulty. It became faulty yesterday at around 16:53, and then we did touch base with our counterparts, Nampower, and they've indicated that they have a spare transformer that is in Vindu. So that is basically what we are taking you through, and that spare transformer can only be transported by the grace of God today. They are also working around the clock just to make sure that they do the testings and everything so that they can transport it. So once they transport it here that's the Combat side, Combat Valley, it has to be tested there again. That is a standard practice. It has to be tested on site before it fully, and once they install it, they have to test it for some time again. Then that's when they will energize or whatever, bring back the electricity. So what does this mean? What this means is that since yesterday at 5 until right now as I'm talking to you, those customers that you are seeing there will not have electricity. And from this time that I'm talking to you until hopefully tomorrow afternoon or so, they will not have electricity. As you can see, there are institutions there. There's learning institutions, businesses, and all the bays and others. So these are the people that are affected, and these are the people that will be affected by this outage. Of course, you might be aware, I think last month we had something similar in Chumep, where a 11 kV transformer was hit by lightning in Nampower. And then it resulted in around about 72 hours of a total blackout for the town. They didn't have electricity. I'm sure that situation, we have energized them back, but through a Dundee line. So we are still waiting for Nampower. Or they came in with a 10, so it's sorted. Yeah, so it's basically something that is of a concern to us because of, in fact, the reluctance of Nampower in addressing these urgent issues.
In economic news, we look at the Namibia Deposit Guarantee Authority and its role in society, as well as the economic indicators. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with Sunset News, and here are the economic news. In the case of failure in any of the local banking institutions, as well as the branches of foreign banks operating in Namibia, consumers' deposits are safe. The Namibian Deposit Guarantee Authority, which has only been in existence for 2 years, recently released their annual report. The report demonstrated a 3.8% year-on-year increase in the market value of 10.3 million Namibian dollars for the fiscal year that ended the 31st of December 2021. The deposit guarantee scheme adopts a guarantee coverage limit of 25,000 and covers more than 90% of the current depositors. Coming up next, let's have a look at economic indicators. The Namibian dollar is down against most major currencies, with the exception of the Chinese yuan, where it is strengthened. MTC, Namibia Assets Management, and Namibian breweries are all up. First Rand Namibia lost some ground. Oryx Properties and SBN Holdings are up, while Trustco is down. The local index is up and the overall index is down. On the commodities market, gold and zinc are down, while oil and copper are up. Now, after the break, we take a look at tomorrow's weather predictions. Stay with us.
Adam Tas is coming to Windhoek to help build a brighter future for education. Join us at the Sounds of Caring concert at Windhoek High School Vegkop on 20 and 21 May, where he will be performing with Von Arends and Rian Smith. Tickets cost $200 Namibian and are available via eticket.my.na. All proceeds go towards the African Child Development Trust.
Happy Thursday evening, and thank you very much for watching Sunset News. Here is tomorrow's weather prediction. Enana is still the hottest place in the north at 36 degrees. The possibility of rain persists in the far northeast and northern west. Windhoek varies between 13 and 28 degrees. The central coast will be between 14 and 23 degrees. Marienthal, Cape Manschwab and Aramsvlei is the hottest at 31 degrees. Now, in international news slot, we take a look at France and the African policies. Thank you for watching Sunset News, and we are back with the international news. French President Emmanuel Macron took on his far-right challenger Marine Le Pen on Wednesday in their only head-to-head confrontation before the electorate. The two candidates confronted each other on the cost of living, Russia, climate change, and immigration. The rare times Africa was mentioned was through the prism of military collaboration. The only commitment kept for Africa beyond the military and migratory prism remains that the Francophone Union. Even though Macron's program does not give further details on the potential institution to be created, he stipulated it will be equipped with an arbitration body, an agency to promote industrialization, and development bank. The organization will serve in parallel to the radical reform of immigration policy. He said, in a summary, Macron's immediate focus for Africa is to eradicate long-term consequences of colonialization, to expand the Francophone Union, to address humanitarian and economic crises due to COVID-19, and apply a roadmap of Africa-Europe 2022 summit. In the section devoted to defense, for example, Marine Le Pen plans to consolidate strategic partnerships with Chad, where she had visited in 2017, Niger, Senegal, Togo, Gabon, and Morocco, Libya, and Egypt as well. According to her, in each of these countries, a global scheme, diplomatic, military, armament of strategic partnership will be reviewed in order to give them the consistency and coherence they deserve. Despite a strong performance by Ms. Le Pen, a poll of voters from French broadcasters suggests that 59% of viewers are more convinced by Macron. Macron's lead in opinion polls is much narrower than 5 years ago, when he beat Le Pen with 66.1% by vote. After the break, we return with sports news. Thank you for staying with us. We are back with the sports news. Former footballer Robert Nauseb believes Namibia has an 80% chance to make it out of Group C in the Africa Cup of Nations. In our next story, Standard Bank Namibia announced their sponsorship renewal for Junior Hockey Initiative, which is a development program aimed at taking the sports of hockey to schools and communities. Now, in our next story, Namibian open water swimmer Philip Siedler, who competed in the 2021 Tokyo Olympic Games in the 10-kilometer swim from Pelican Point to the mall in Swakopmund, which is about 20 to 25 kilometers open race in May. Now, after the break, we will get into the highlights from today's broadcast. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us up until this point. Now, if you've missed the broadcast earlier, here are some of our highlights. The Namibian Energy Conference is in full swing with the blessing of the Ministry of Mines and Energy. The controversial Canadian gas and oil exploration company Reconnaissance Energy Africa, better known as Recon Africa, is using this platform to repeatedly assure Namibians